And here we have a general diagram of my complete biofuel system. It involves the use of green algae and fungi yeast to produce two main biofuels, oils and bioethanol. As you see in tank 1, there is wastewater along with green algae and some sunlight. The main process here is photosynthesis. This algae culture is then moved to the second tank, where it is crushed to release the lipids and oils. Those lipids and oils are then extracted, and we're left with the water and dead biomass. The water is drained and the dead biomass is moved to tank number 3. Here, fermentation takes place when we add yeast and Ascomycete fungi, which produces ethanol and carbon dioxide as byproducts. The ethanol is extracted and used as a bioethanol fuel. The carbon dioxide gas is recirculated back to tank 1, where it's used to control pH levels. Next, we will move on to more detailed explanation of each tank and process. In tank number 1, it's open and the sunlight is able to enter along with air. And the main process is photosynthesis. So what is photosynthesis? It is a process that involves the conversion of light energy to chemical energy. By utilizing water, carbon dioxide, and light energy, plants and algae fix carbon into mainly carbohydrates, sugars, or glucose. Oxygen is a byproduct, and as you can see below in purple, there's a simplified equation of the process. Basically, general carbon dioxide and water and light fix carbon into sugars and oxygen and water. In this tank, there's a few requirements. As mentioned, it's open to sunlight and carbon dioxide to enter. And the lipid oils, which will be converted into biodiesels, is one of 2 biofuels produced in this system. With green algae, lower nitrogen levels have been shown to produce greater levels of lipids in the algae. Wastewater is generally treated to reduce nitrogen levels. Thus, we can use wastewater in tank number 1. Also, in growing algae, the pH levels is a bit sensitive, and it's a small range from 7 to 9 on the pH scale. And to keep this balanced requires additional mixing of the culture to aerate it, and adding additional carbon dioxide to maintain pH balance. This algae culture is then transferred to tank number 2 via vacuum method. Here in tank 2, the main process is crushing to extract the lipid oils. What we have here is a draining of the water, most of the water, and we have a wind-powered screw press. So how do we extract the oils? The oils are contained within the cell walls of the algae. These need to be broken. The method used here is a mechanical screw press that is powered by a windmill. We will explain the mechanism further later on. And it simply crushes the algae cells, releasing the lipid oils. The oils at the top will be removed and further processed into biodiesels to be used as in applications such as diesel engines. And most of the water will be drained, leaving dead biomass, which will then be transferred to tank number 3. Now, after you crush the cells and release these oils, and you allow the tank to settle, due to different densities, oils will settle to the top, water to the middle, and the dead biomass will fall to the bottom and settle there, which makes extracting the lipid oils from the top fairly easy. Now I'm going to explain the vertical axis wind-powered screw press a little more detailedly. As you see, there's a threaded cylinder at the bottom, which is inside the tank, and there's a spinning screw press here, this flat cylinder, which can go up or down depending on the wind direction and how you set up these half cylinders here. Looking at the leftmost figure, you can see the wind will catch on the right half cylinder and it will spin counterclockwise, which means the press will move up if the wind is coming from the bottom here. If you slide those cylinders to the other side, as in the middle diagram, the left half cylinder will catch air and the mechanism will spin clockwise, causing the press to go downwards and crush the algae. If you slide the half cylinders together to make a full cylinder, essentially the wind will not very much affect the direction, the spinning of the mechanism, and it will stay in place. So this allows for any wind direction to either screw the press up or down. And also these half cylinders, this is drawn as diagram, not drawn to diagram, so you can have them higher or wider to catch more wind and essentially more power. Moving on to tank number 3. As you remember, from tank number 2, we transfer the dead biomass. Here in tank 3, the main process is fermentation. So what is that? It is a process of anaerobic, no oxygen respiration. By contrast, aerobic respiration uses oxygen, and is a process by which many life forms, including humans, use for respiration and to breathe. Fermentation breaks down glucose using enzymes to produce ethanol, carbon dioxide, and energy. The simplified equation is below in purple here. So, Ascomycete fungi yeast is introduced with the glucose, or the sugars and carbs from the dead algae biomass. Fermentation takes place as the fungi break down the biomass with enzymes, and the byproducts are the bioethanol, to be used as a biofuel, and carbon dioxide, which is recirculated to tank number 1, as we mentioned earlier, to maintain proper pH levels. And then the ethanol and CO2 are released as gas in this process, which is collected in a condenser here. Now this condenser cools these gases down, so the ethanol vapors turn into liquids, and we can collect that as a fuel. But the CO2 remains in gas form because it not only takes cooler temperatures but also a high pressure, close to 60 pounds per square inch, to become liquid. So it remains as a gas, and that's how it's recirculated to tank 1, while the ethanol is in liquid form and collected. So here's a view of the overall system again, just as a review. Its environmental and energy impact, we have some benefits and costs. One, it's a renewable energy. It uses waste products, such as carbon dioxide and the dead biomass. It uses no fertilizer and is of minimum pollution. It's a closed system design, and it can be used on non-agricultural land. And since it's used on non-agricultural land, it can be used near wastewater treatment centers, where we get the wastewater, and this reduces transportation costs and thus likely less fossil fuel use. It also produces 2 biofuels. Some costs: the algae cultivation requires sensitive temperature. It's a limited range, so some climate control needs might be necessary. But we can utilize solar or wind power in accessing this extra energy resource. Majority of vehicles and machinery at this time do not run on biofuels, so there may be some cost to integrate and produce infrastructure. However, they're a minimal cost to the environment itself. And these are some sources for my project. Thank you.